Your forecast for next year is considerably more optimistic than Tourism Ireland came up with a few weeks ago. What are you basing that on?
Well, I think Tourism Ireland's forecast was Island of Ireland. We're looking obviously at the Republic of Ireland, so there'll always be a slight discrepancy in that regard. The main driver of our outlook is air access and sea access. So on sea access, for example, the Irish Ferries are launching their new ship WDH this year, which will travel between Ireland and France, which will be the biggest ship coming into Ireland in terms of footfall and in terms of car passengers, so that should help. There's a big boost in short-haul flights into Ireland, particularly from Germany with the likes of Ryanair. Aer Lingus have very expansionist plans for that transatlantic route and very much are looking at Dublin as a hub. So there's no reason they can't fly American people into Dublin. If those American people decide to get off and enjoy the Irish tourism experience, great. Otherwise, they can always continue on another IAG airline to anywhere in continental Europe. So Aer Lingus are very bullish about the possibility of transatlantic, and we're very supportive of them in that regard. So that's the main, if you like, drivers of our numbers, as well as the fact that just looking at the kind of economies, because the economy ultimately is the critical thing that affects travel and tourism numbers. The US economy is going well, seems to be performing quite strongly. The stock market is doing well. Employment numbers are very strong. The Eurozone seems to be in a far better place than it was. The big issue, of course, is Britain. And in many ways it might get worse before it gets better, because there's concerns now that the impact of the Brexit effect is filtering into the economy in terms of higher inflation and lower growth expectations and stuff. And I think we're going to have to fight very, very hard to maintain our market share in that market. And at the moment, and we talked about budgets, but Tourism Ireland will tell you this, they used to have a budget of 20 million euro for the British market. It's now down to 8 million euro. And that 8 million euro, doesn't go very far over a 12-month period across the number of channels they need to cover. So what we really think we need is a significant investment in GB, but also in other markets to make sure this sector continues to grow.
To make a reflective comment, my first direct involvement with the tourism industry was to chair a midterm review of the tourist policy back in 2009 for the government, and one of the issues at the time was an expectation that Board SNP were going to cut the spend significantly, and I usually encourage them not to do so, and on the back of the fact that this is equity in the Irish brand that we have invested in, and if you reduce your spend as your competitors increase theirs, your share of voice drops, your share of awareness, your share of mind drops, and you are going to see a decline in tourists. And I don't think it's totally to do with Sterling and Brexit. I think that's a factor as well. If you underinvest, you will unfortunately reap the reward of underinvestment. That's why that piece of the equation is critical. Just one other comment. World travel trade believes that the world travel will grow by approximately 4% in 2018. So it would be very disappointing if Ireland can't at the very least match that, and we should outperform it. We should be more ambitious.